We're going to open today's video about mental diet with a quote directly from Neville Goddard. This is it from his 5 lessons. If you have not read the 5 lessons, they are a great spot to actually get started. And there's actually one of my favorite quotes, although I kind of feel like I say that all the time because I love so many of the quotes, but I only share my favorites, so that might be why. But he says, we cannot have a little bit of meditation in the morning, curse at noon, and do something else in the evening. We have to go on a mental diet. For a week, we must completely change our mental food. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. If I could now single out the kind of mental food I want to express within my world and feast upon it, I would become it. Feast on the idea. Become identified with the idea as though you were already that embodied state. Walk in the assumption that you are what you want to be. If you feast on that and remain faithful to that mental diet, you will crystallize it. You will become it in this world. And the reason that I share this and that I wanted to talk about what a mental diet is because there is such importance on focusing on where your mental state and what your inner conversations are doing. That's truly what a mental diet is about. A mental diet is taking a set amount of days. Usually it's recommended to do a week, 7 days. Take that set amount of days and focus on where you're dwelling in your mind. This does not mean that you will never have negative thoughts. You don't have to start over or beat yourself up or be really frustrated if you have a negative thought. So, actually, another quote that I want to read is from Emmett Fox's 7 Day Mental Diet. And it says, it is not the thoughts that come to you that matter, but only such of them as you choose to entertain and dwell upon. So when you're doing a mental diet, the real key focus here is to not continually dwell on the thought. Neville Goddard always taught that indifference is the way that you kind of squash things that you don't want. You don't deny them, because denying them is accepting their presence. Denying them is giving them attention. Giving them attention is actually giving them the fuel to continue to expand, right? So instead, what you want to do is learn how to become indifferent. And a mental diet actually teaches you how to do that. But I think a lot of times, and I know I did this, I equated mental diet to toxic positivity. So I would say, okay, I'm going to do this mental diet for 7 days, and that means I can't have a single negative thought, and I have to have everything be perfect. And that's not actually it. It is, though, learning how to choose the thoughts that you dwell and entertain. Where are you going to continue to place your focus, or what can you actually remain indifferent to? And indifference means just meh. Yeah, right? You're not like, oh, that has to go away, and I hate this, and I'm never going to pay attention to it, and no, 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 no. And it doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, I have to fix this because it's coming up in my world and I'm thinking about all the things that could go wrong. It's literally about just being like, that thought is here. I'm not going to dwell there. And the way that you do this is by learning emotional regulation. So the more that you can actually regulate your own emotions, calm yourself, which even if you suffer from anxiety or depression, you're able to learn these tools. Although I want to caveat that I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm really not here um, to help if you are really kind of having a lot of struggles. And I recommend that you find a licensed therapist in your area if that's the case. But there are ways for you to learn how to overcome your own negative biases and work on the way that your mind is working. You can reframe and rewire the thoughts that you're having in your brain. And this is what a mental diet does. So the more that you're able to, I guess the word I'm looking for is calm yourself in the state. So let's say something comes up that's really rocking your world, right? And you're like, I'm trying to do this mental diet and this is just floored me. I want you to start practicing taking a moment and doing a breathing exercise to actually calm yourself before you address what's actually happening, before you choose the next thought that you're going to dwell in. There's a few different ways to do this. And one of the best ways, though, to teach yourself to do this is to start doing it with minor inconveniences. So somebody cuts you off in traffic, practice this. You're running a little late, practice this. Your toddler is insisting on putting on their own shoes, but it's taking forever and you want to help put on the shoes. practice this. You have somebody who texts you K in response or left you on red, practice this. And I kind of put these in the minor bucket, but I'm talking about minor as in they are not like ones that are just like absolutely flooring you, right? Like finding out the death of a loved one or getting into a car accident. And I'm not trying to minimize anything that you struggle with or that comes up for you. You have to choose what the minor inconveniences are for you, and what the big ones are, right? And we each have a different what is that word that I'm looking for? We each have like a different level of what that's going to be. So for me, getting cut off in traffic is like really no big deal. I don't really care anymore. I mean, I care is in the fact that I don't want somebody to get me in an accident, but I don't care that it gets me worked up. And I think it's because, actually, I know it's because I've worked on these tools to regulate that this kind of stuff just isn't what phases me anymore. I don't have toddlers to fight putting on shoes either, so that could be part of it. But like, I do have other things in my life that I'm like, oh gosh, I really need this to go better. I can be rather impatient with people, and it's something that I continue to work on. And so, what you do in those moments of these inconveniences, the training moments, right? You use these minor inconveniences as your training moments. And what you're going to do is you're going to learn how to pause and take a deep breath. So you're going to do a psychological sigh. And a psychological sigh is a big, big breath in through your nose and like hold it at the top of your head. And then you're going to take another quick one in through your nose and hold it for just like 1 second. And you're going to release for a longer amount of time out of your mouth. This release actually slows down your heart rate when you blow out your mouth, and it's a longer release than the inhale. And that starts to calm you. So, this breath actually tells your body that you are safe right now. So, this is what it would look like. I just love it. It just automatically calms me. And you can do that 2 or 3 times. You don't have to close your eyes. I tend to, unless I'm driving, but you don't have to close your eyes. So once you are calm, you can recognize that this thing happened or this thought came up. So the way you would use this is, let's say that you are looking for love in your life and you are dating somebody and you're noticing they're starting to ghost you. And that does not feel good, right? Like nobody enjoys that. And so you're like, man, they're starting to ghost me. I'm getting really upset. And so you send them a message and you say, hey, like, I enjoyed our time out together, but I've noticed that you are becoming distant. Is there something you want to talk about, or are you just not interested? And bam, the read receipt comes up, and 2 days later, you still haven't gotten anything. And you're like, sweet, that's awesome. And so, what you can do in that moment when you feel those feelings is do your psychological breath, calm down, and then I want you to check in physically with your own body. I want you to stop and say, okay, where do I actually feel this? Is it a tightening in my gut? Can I feel like kind of pressure in my head? Is my body getting warm? Am I feeling like a tightening in my chest? Any kind of feeling, those are usually the feelings that I have, right? So I want you to physically do a scan of your body and ask, where do I feel this in my body? As you do that, you will actually begin to calm because you're giving your mind something to work on that's not going down this like dwelling kind of frustrating cycle, and you're calming yourself. You are relaxing, you are telling yourself that you are safe, you are calming your own nervous system. Some other things that you can do is physically get up and move your body. So let's say that you decide, okay, I've practiced. Oh, let me make sure that I caveat this. What I am recommending you do is that you spend 2 to 4 days working on this breathing exercise to calm yourself before trying a mental diet. So then you are better equipped to manage when big things happen or inconveniences happen that are not aligned to what your goal is and where you're trying to get to. Then once you start the mental diet, you're going to use that tool when your mind goes into a thought that is not aligned to the positive thoughts and the mental things that you want to consume. So a mental diet is truly just paying attention to what you're consuming in your mind. Where are you dwelling? What are you paying attention to? What are you giving life to? What are you reacting to? We do not control the thoughts that we have. We control what we do with them. We control our reactions to them, and we control how long we stay thinking about them. Now, another really quick little tidbit is if you're finding it difficult to get yourself out of that thought, and this happens to me actually, is something I struggle with where my mind's like, no, now you said we can't, so we're going to do it. And that's not indifference, that's a battle. So there's a couple things that I'll try. One is I will physically move my body. So I will find something I want to listen to, go on a walk, get outside, do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do something to physically move my body, right? The more that I'm physically moving, the less that I'm able to continue to dwell on that. And I'm able to start focusing on other things, right? Like, what is my adorable dog doing? Or how does it feel to be outside, the sunshine, the birds? Is there like interesting cars that are driving by? Anything in my vicinity that I can pay attention to. The other one is to pick a word and then go through that word letter by letter. So this is actually a psychological hack that you can do, and I've been practicing it for the past few days, and it's like it's really amazing how it works. But so essentially, let's say that you take the word peace, and so you think peace, and maybe in your mind you imagine or you think of a peace sign. Then you're going to think of the P and you're going to think of something else. So maybe with the P, I'm going to think of like a pea as in like the vegetable pea, and I'm going to picture that in my mind. Then I'm going to go to E and I'm going to think of an elephant. And so I'll picture the elephant in my mind or think of an elephant. And then I go to the A and I'm going to imagine an apple. So when you go through that for each letter of the word, and you can pick the word. But this actually triggers your brain to start thinking about something else. Now you are no longer dwelling on that negative belief. Instead, you're shifting your mind to something else. No, is it the thing that you want? No, you're learning how to become indifferent. And you'll continue to do this until your mind just naturally starts to believe other things. This naturally starts to bring about feelings of like self forgiveness, self compassion, self understanding. And so, this is what I want you to do. So you use these tools in your mental diet. Now, when you have a great thought, like, oh man, I met this new gentleman and he's messaging me and we're going to go out and this feels really good. I feel desired. I want you to consider those thoughts. I want you to spend time each day of your mental diet going through the wins of your day. And these wins are on the very smallest of scales. I mean, start truly paying attention. Like, let's say that you do want love in your life and your child draws you a really pretty picture. I want you to pay attention to the fact and at night write down that that was a win. You got this picture and they gave it to you because they love you. And then somebody at the grocery store, held the door open for you while you were carrying your groceries out. Recognize that as a loving act from another human and put that into like kind of your bin of wins for the day. So you can do this in any kind of way, but start to really focus on these wins. And that will help you start to cultivate your mental diet and make sure that you're only dwelling in the thoughts, in the feelings, and in the beliefs that are aligned to the type of life and the desires that you want. So I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions on this, you can leave them down below, or you can always shoot me an email, unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. And I wish you nothing but the best.